You really think you can replace her? That's what she said to me. Right there. In the middle of my own bridal shower. My future mother-in-law. Smiling like she was handing me a gift. But her eyes? Ice cold. And I just stood there, holding a champagne glass, wearing this stupid sash that said bride-to-be, wondering if I had heard her right. I'm Sarah. I'm 28. I work in marketing in Chicago, and up until 3 months ago, I genuinely believed I was living a rom-com. Met Daniel at a mutual friend's birthday party. He was funny, he was kind, he remembered how I took my coffee without me ever telling him. 6 months in, he proposed with his grandmother's ring. I said yes. I cried. I called my mom. I thought, this is it. This is my person. But nobody warned me about the other woman in his life. And I'm not talking about an ex-girlfriend. I'm talking about his mother, Linda. See, Linda never approved of me. Not really. She smiled at family dinners. She hugged me hello. But there was always this distance. This look. Like I was a temporary inconvenience. Like I was borrowing something that belonged to her. And I told myself I was being paranoid. I told myself, Sarah, you're overthinking. She's just protective of her son. That's normal. Was I wrong? Was I? Because here's the thing about gut feelings, they don't scream, they whisper. And I spent 6 months ignoring every single whisper. So here's my question to you, sitting there watching this. If you were me, hearing those words from the woman who's supposed to welcome you into her family, what would you do? Would you confront her? Would you tell your fiancé? Or would you do what I did? Smile, laugh it off, and pretend you didn't hear anything at all. Stick around. Because what happened at my wedding, it didn't just break my heart. It almost broke me. And yeah, you're gonna want to hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you won't believe how this ends. So after the bridal shower incident, I tried to shake it off. I really did. I went home to Daniel, I curled up on the couch, and I almost told him. The words were right there. Your mom said something weird today. But then I looked at him, all relaxed and happy, scrolling through wedding venue photos on his phone, and I thought, no. Don't be that girl. Don't start drama before the wedding. Biggest mistake of my life. Maybe. The wedding was 3 weeks away. We had booked this beautiful vineyard in Napa. Yeah, I know, cliché, but it was gorgeous. 200 guests. String lights. The whole Pinterest dream. And Linda? She was suddenly involved in everything. Like, everything. Sarah, honey, let me handle the photographer. I know someone perfect. That's what she said. And I should have said no. I should have said, thanks, Linda, but Daniel and I already booked someone. But I didn't. Because I was trying to be the good daughter-in-law. I was trying to prove I could play nice. So I said yes. I said, that would be amazing, thank you. And she smiled. That same smile from the bridal shower. The one that didn't reach her eyes. A week later, she sends me the photographer's portfolio. His name was Jake. The photos were beautiful. I'll give her that. Moody, artistic, lots of black and white, very editorial. I looked through his Instagram, his website, everything seemed professional, normal. I even FaceTimed with him, and he seemed nice enough, soft-spoken, a little intense behind the camera, but aren't all artists? I had no idea. I had absolutely no idea. The week before the wedding, Linda invited me to lunch. Just us girls, she said. We went to this little Italian place downtown, and for the first 20 minutes, it was almost pleasant. She asked about my dress. She asked about my parents, who were flying in from Ohio. She even said I looked happy. Then she leaned across the table, and her voice dropped to this weird, intimate whisper. You know, Sarah, Daniel had a very intense relationship before you. Very passionate. They were together for 4 years. Did he ever tell you why they broke up? I felt my stomach drop. He said they grew apart. She laughed. Not a mean laugh. Worse. A pitying laugh. Is that what he told you? I didn't answer. I couldn't. My hands were shaking under the table. She was his world. Linda continued, stirring her iced tea like she was discussing the weather. Her name was Vanessa. Beautiful girl. Smart. Ambitious. They were engaged, actually. Did you know that? Engaged. The word hit me like a physical blow. Daniel had been engaged before? He never told me that. Not once in 18 months. Not when we talked about exes. Not when we picked out rings. Not ever. Linda, I don't think this is appropriate. Oh, honey, I'm just preparing you. She reached over and patted my hand. Her fingers were ice cold. Marriage is hard. Daniel is complicated. He needs someone who understands him, someone who knows his history. I left that lunch feeling like I'd been punched in the gut. I drove home in silence. I didn't call Daniel. I didn't know what to say. Hey babe, your mom just told me you were engaged before and never mentioned it. How do you even start that conversation? But here's where it gets worse. And I mean, so much worse. 2 days before the wedding, I was at the venue doing the final walkthrough. Jake, the photographer, was there setting up his equipment. I went over to introduce myself properly, shake his hand, go over the shot list, and that's when I saw it. Tucked into his camera bag, barely visible, was a photo. A printed photo, old and worn at the edges. And in that photo was Daniel. Younger, sure, but unmistakably Daniel, with his arms around a woman, a beautiful woman with dark hair and these striking green eyes. They were laughing at the camera, completely lost in each other. And on the back of the photo, in handwriting I would later recognize as Linda's, was a name, Vanessa and Daniel Forever. I felt the ground tilt. My ears started ringing. I looked up at Jake, and he was watching me. Not surprised, not confused, just watching. Like he was waiting for me to put it together. You're Vanessa's friend, I said. It wasn't a question. He didn't deny it. He just adjusted his camera strap and said, your future mother-in-law hired me personally. She thought it would be poetic. Poetic, he said, poetic. I should have walked away right then. I should have called off the wedding, called Daniel, called literally anyone, but I didn't. Because part of me, this stupid, hopeful, broken part of me still thought maybe I was misunderstanding. Maybe Linda was just being dramatic. Maybe Jake was just a weird guy with a weird connection. Maybe. I was a fool. I was such a fool. The night before the wedding, I couldn't sleep. I was in my hotel room, bride and groom don't see each other the night before, tradition and all that, and I was staring at the ceiling, replaying every interaction with Linda, every weird comment, every backhanded compliment. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. You should ask Daniel about the night Vanessa left. Ask him what he said to her. Ask him why she really walked away. A friend. I sat up in bed, heart hammering. I texted back, who is this? No response. Just silence. Just me. Alone. In the dark. With a question I couldn't unask. The next morning, I got ready in a blur. My mom helped me into my dress. My bridesmaids did my makeup. Everyone kept saying how beautiful I looked, how happy I seemed, and I just nodded and smiled because I had forgotten how to feel anything real. Then, Linda walked in. She was wearing cream. Not white, but close enough. Close enough that people would notice. Close enough that it felt intentional. And she was carrying a gift bag. For you, sweetheart. Something old. Open it later. She hugged me. She actually hugged me. And I stood there in my $1,000 dress, smelling her perfume, feeling her hands on my back, and I wanted to scream. I wanted to tear that bag open right there and see what fresh horror she had prepared. But my mom was watching. My friends were watching. So I smiled and said thank you like a good little bride. The ceremony was at 4. I walked down the aisle on my dad's arm, and I saw Daniel at the end. And for 1 second, one stupid, traitorous second, I felt okay. He looked nervous. He looked happy. He looked like the man I fell in love with. But then I saw Linda in the front row, smiling. Not at us. At something behind us. At someone. I didn't turn around. I couldn't. I kept walking. The vows were beautiful. I wrote mine at 3 in the morning, crying, and they were about forgiveness and new beginnings and choosing each other every day. Daniel's were simple and sweet. When he said I do, his voice cracked. When I said I do, mine didn't. I was too numb. Then the officiate said, you may kiss the bride. And Daniel kissed me, and everyone cheered. And I thought, maybe this is enough. Maybe love is enough. I was wrong. I was so wrong. The reception was in this gorgeous barn, all exposed wood and fairy lights, 200 people. Open bar, live band, the works. We did our first dance. We cut the cake, we mingled with guests. And all the while, I could feel Linda watching me. Not with hatred, with anticipation, like she was waiting for something. Then, around 9, the DJ announced a special surprise presentation from the mother of the groom. I froze. Daniel squeezed my hand. "Did you know about this?" he whispered. I shook my head. "Did you?" He looked confused. "No. Mom said she had a slideshow of childhood photos. I thought it would be cute." "Cute? Yeah." The lights dimmed. A projector screen lowered from the ceiling. People settled back in their chairs, smiling, expecting baby pictures and embarrassing teenage photos. I saw Linda walk up to the DJ booth and she wasn't smiling. She was glowing. Glowing with this terrible, triumphant energy. The first image appeared on screen. It was Daniel and Vanessa. The same photo I'd seen in Jake's bag, but bigger, clearer. And then it dissolved into another photo, and another. Daniel and Vanessa at the beach. Daniel and Vanessa at Christmas. Daniel and Vanessa in Paris, at a cafe, kissing in the rain. Photo after photo, set to this slow, sad piano music, and I could feel every eye in the room shifting from the screen to me. Then text appeared, handwritten letters, scanned and displayed for 200 people to see. "My dearest Vanessa, I can't imagine my life without you. You are my forever. Daniel, Daniel, I will love you until my last breath. Come back to me. Vanessa." The room went completely silent. I could hear my own heartbeat. I looked at Daniel, and his face had gone white. He was shaking his head, mouthing, "I don't understand." But I couldn't hear him over the ringing in my ears. Then the video started. It was shaky, handheld footage. A bedroom, our bedroom, the one Daniel and I shared. And on the bed, tangled in our sheets, was Daniel, with Vanessa. Kissing her, touching her, saying her name. The room erupted. Gasps, whispers. Someone dropped a glass. I stood there, in my wedding dress, in front of 200 people, and I felt myself leave my body. I was floating above myself, watching this horror show, unable to move, unable to breathe, and then Linda's voice came over the speakers, recorded, planned, practiced. "Sarah, honey, I know you think you know my son. But you don't. You never did. Vanessa was his soulmate. You were just convenient. A rebound he was too polite to end. I couldn't let him make the biggest mistake of his life. I couldn't let him marry someone he doesn't love." The screen went black. The lights came up. And there, standing by the projector, was Vanessa herself. She was beautiful. Of course she was. Dark hair, green eyes, wearing a red dress that screamed, "Look at me." She walked toward me, and the crowd parted like she was Moses and they were the sea. "Hi, Sarah," she said, and her voice was soft, almost sympathetic. "I'm sorry it had to be this way, but Daniel and I, we never stopped loving each other." The video is from last month. He's been seeing me the whole time. Ask him. Ask him if I'm lying. I turned to Daniel, my husband, for 3 hours, my husband, and I saw it in his face. Not denial, not outrage, guilt, pure crushing guilt. "Sarah, I can explain. Can you?" My voice didn't sound like mine. It was too calm, too steady. "Can you explain why you're in our bed with another woman, Daniel? Can you explain why your mother planned this? Can you explain why I'm standing here, in front of everyone I know, being humiliated on my wedding day?" He didn't answer. He just stood there, hands shaking, eyes wet, and I realized I had never really known him. I had known the version of him he wanted me to see. The version that bought me coffee and remembered my birthday and said, "I love you" every night before bed. But this broken, cowardly man who let his mother destroy his wedding? This was the real Daniel. And this is the part that still keeps me up at night, Linda walked over and hugged Vanessa. Right there, in front of everyone, like she was welcoming her daughter home. "Welcome back to the family, sweetheart," Linda said, loud enough for the microphone to catch. "We've missed you." I don't remember walking off the dance floor. I don't remember my mom catching me, or my dad shouting at Daniel, or the guests leaving in embarrassed silence. I just remember the bathroom, cold tile, my reflection in the mirror, mascara running, lipstick smeared, a stranger in a white dress. I sat on that floor for what felt like hours. My phone kept buzzing. Texts from friends, calls from my sister. I ignored all of them. I just sat there, staring at my hands, wondering how everything had gone so wrong so fast. And then I remembered the gift bag. Linda's something old, still sitting on the chair in the bridal suite. I don't know why, but I got up. I walked back to that room, alone, and I tore that bag open. Inside was a scrapbook, thick, heavy, hand-bound. And on the first page, in Linda's perfect cursive, the real Daniel, a history of true love. Page after page of Daniel and Vanessa, ticket stubs, restaurant receipts, love notes, and at the back, printed emails, recent ones, from Daniel to Vanessa, from the past 6 months. While we were planning our wedding, while he was telling me I was his forever. I miss you. I made a mistake. Help me get out of this. Mom has a plan. Just wait. I'll be free soon. I never loved her. I love you. Only you. I read them 3 times, then 4. I wanted them to be fake. I wanted Linda to have forged them, but I knew Daniel's writing. I knew his phrases. I knew the way he signed his name. He never loved me. He was using me. His mother was using me. The whole thing, the proposal, the ring, the wedding was an exit strategy. A way for Daniel to look like the good guy while Vanessa waited in the wings. I should have crumbled. I should have cried and screamed and let them win. But something snapped. Something deep inside me, where all the hurt lived, turned hard and sharp and cold. I wiped my face. I fixed my makeup. And I made a decision. If they wanted a show, I'd give them a show they'd never forget. I walked back into that reception hall like I owned it. Because I did. I paid for half this wedding. I planned every detail. And I was not going to slink away like some tragic heroine while Linda and Vanessa toasted their victory. The room was mostly empty. A few stragglers. Daniel was at the bar, head in his hands. Linda and Vanessa were at a table, laughing, drinking champagne that I had paid for. I walked straight to the DJ booth. The guy looked up, surprised. "Ma'am, I'm so sorry about what happened." "Don't be," I said. "I need the microphone, and I need you to play that slideshow again, from the beginning." He hesitated. "Are you sure?" "Trust me. I'm very sure." I stepped up to the mic, and my voice echoed through that barn. "Excuse me, could everyone who's still here come back inside? I have something I'd like to share." People trickled back in, curious, confused. Linda and Vanessa stopped laughing. "Hi again," I said, and my voice was steady, strong. "For those of you who don't know, I'm Sarah, the bride. Or I was, until about an hour ago, when my new mother-in-law decided to air my husband's affair at our wedding." Murmurs. Shocked faces. Daniel looked up from the bar, eyes wide. "But here's the thing," I continued. "Linda forgot something. She forgot that I have a slideshow, too." I nodded to the DJ. The screen lit up again, but this time, it wasn't Vanessa and Daniel. It was emails, the ones from the scrapbook. Daniel's words, in his own writing. "I never loved her. I love you, only you." Then I played the audio, a recording, from 3 weeks ago. Linda's voice clear as day. "Vanessa, honey, don't worry. I'll make sure Sarah is humiliated. She'll leave him, and Daniel will come running back to you. Just like we planned." The room went dead silent. Linda's face was drained of color. Vanessa stood up, knocking over her champagne. "Oh, and one more thing," I said, pulling out my phone. "Daniel? You forgot to mention that Vanessa is actually your second cousin, didn't you? Your mom's sister's daughter?" "Yeah, I did some digging. Turns out, your epic love story is actually a family scandal you've been hiding for years. No wonder Linda wanted to destroy me. I was the only one who didn't know the family secret." The gasps were louder this time. Real. Genuine. Daniel made a sound like he'd been punched. Linda was on her feet, shrieking something about lies, but nobody was listening. I set the mic down. I walked over to Daniel, and I took off his grandmother's ring. I dropped it into his champagne glass. "You want it out?" I said, quiet enough that only he could hear. "Congratulations. You're free. Enjoy your family." I walked out of that barn with my head high. My parents were waiting by the car. My friends were cheering. And for the first time in months, I could breathe. So, am I in the wrong? For exposing them? For fighting back? For refusing to be the broken girl they wanted me to be? I don't think so. But you tell me. Drop a comment. Let me know what you would have done. And if you want more stories about taking your power back, about refusing to let anyone dim your light, hit that subscribe button. Turn on notifications. Because I'm just getting started. And Linda, if you're watching this, thanks for the scrapbook. It made excellent evidence.